In a related development, Nigeria's ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, has accused opposition parties of instigating mass protests across some cities in the country to undermine the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. On Monday, protesters, including women and youths, blocked major roads in Minna, the Niger state capital, to register their displeasure over the rising cost of living. The protesters said the rising cost of food items and poor government efforts to arrest the situation forced them to block major roads so that the government would hear their cry. A day after the Niger State protest and a similar one in Kano State, the APC National Publicity Secretary Felix Morka said the demonstrations were devious and unpatriotic. The governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, has relaxed the curfew earlier imposed on Mango local government area of the state from 8 p.m. to 7 p.m. Governor Mutfwang stated that the adjustment in the period for the curfew was made after careful consideration and consultation with the State Security Council. In a press statement signed by Yang Bere, the Director of Press and Public Affairs, to the governor, the curfew will now be observed from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. in order to allow residents engage in their agricultural and economic activities in contribution to the overall development of the state. He encouraged community leaders from diverse backgrounds, faiths, and ethnicity to continue their strategic engagement aimed at nurturing trust, fostering tolerance, and promoting better understanding amongst the people. The governor called on security personnel to fulfill their constitutional responsibility of enforcing the curfew effectively to prevent any breach of law and order. Security experts in Nigeria have called for an exchange of strategy in tackling insecurity in the northeast and northwestern regions. This is as they converged on the nation's capital, Abuja, to review the escalating insecurity situation in both regions, including the consultative factors of the violence being witnessed, with a view to recommending proactive solutions. Now, News Central's Amadine Uyi tells us more.
In the last few years, Nigeria has suffered tremendously from insecurity challenges. Despite trillions spent to tackle the menace, its resilience has overwhelmed government and security agencies, with citizens bearing the brunt of the crisis. With this in mind, stakeholders have converged on Nigeria's capital, Abuja, to review the current insecurity situation, making a comparison of events in the northeast and northwest region of the country.
The essence of this gathering really is to ensure peer learning between the Northwest and the Northeast. There's quite a lot of initiatives that have happened in the Northeast in terms of managing violence, injustice, and criminality. And so we want the Northwest to learn from this.
They say there's a need to review the situation in both regions, have a thorough grasp of events, in an effort to have a deep understanding of the reasons and causes of the crisis.
If you look at the crisis, for example, there are several causative factors. So what are the kind of policy measures we need to put in place? So you are looking at issues around education, issues around employment, livelihood skills, psychological reorientation of people, providing better narrative, to the negative narrative, that led to some of these things.
We'll be identifying key stakeholder institutions that we need to engage with. We'll be identifying the key issues affecting the Northwest and the Northeast. We want to understand the key alignments and the points of diversion or areas where what is different in the Northwest is identified as it relates to the Northeast.
Some of these people, particularly those we call the bandits, have their own feelings that are genuine. There were quite a number of them that were forced into what they are doing by the operations of the Nigerian state, particularly the Nigerian security agencies.
They also assure that the new measures aimed at tackling the challenges will be recommended to help government take proactive steps to end the escalating violence both on the field and at the policy level.
We need to think differently. We need to become much more creative, much more innovative to end this thing. We can't continue to do business as usual. We need to come down from our high horses and engage, particularly with the communities that are the receiving end, of this crisis. We need to bring them, we need to amplify their voice.
We don't want to continue to talk about the problem. We want to identify what policy changes can happen and what key stakeholders can do in addressing them. We are pulling together all the policy recommendations that have come from most of the high-level engagements we have had. So it's not just a talk shop.
We really need to sit down and study this phenomenon we call banditry or insecurity in the Northwest very closely, very keenly, with an interest of addressing the issue holistically and completely.
In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
The reintegration of de-radicalized insurgents in Nigeria's northeastern state of Borno has continued to raise concerns among citizens. While the government kept insisting that the return of the insurgents remains the best way to maintain peace, effective monitoring of the reintegrated and provision of job opportunities to teeming youth in communities said to be key for peace to reign. Now, News Central's Umaru Kirawa looks at the reintegration situation and now reports.
These are repentant insurgents in one of the designated rehabilitation camps in Nigeria's northeastern state of Borno. After going through a series of lectures, sporting activities and entrepreneurial engagements for a certain period of time, they are reintegrated back to the society.
Imagine if they are still in the bush. How can we manage them? While understanding the concerns of some citizens, but we believe management of the repentant Boko Haram members is the best way forward.
Town hall meetings are held in communities to convince dwellers to coexist peacefully with the former insurgents.
Am to say sana al tiro saya paktiyo yanda na sama tiro paktiyo wujuru waja saya boyo say wande wujuru waja ngauzai.
Already, government has processed over 150,000 returnees at the Hajj camp. In addition, government is also determined to return all IDPs back to their communities.
Amma wannan ba zai yiwu ba sai kowannen mu ɗaɗɗaya mun yi ƙuduri mun yi niyya saniya da shi ma biran mu kam da kure rito ku tada a wasu dimbaro wadda a kima bai rajin ba gwamnati su bi gudun dare kudu sai ma mai jogato sai rikida ba ma and the peace bow na garta yi muradi ne karma da human development da shi ma muradi ne masana da an da samu malezi shi gwamnati tulon zo nan ne gwamnati ro a gwamnati chairman chida mandoro na tulefa ya kudoru kultura mo jimba.
Coexisting with the de-radicalized insurgents seems to be a positive step, as over 160,000 have so far surrendered. But it is very important to ensure that those factors that will keep the repentant outlaws back at home in peace are maintained. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
To further discuss this, I am joined by National President, Kanuri Heritage Board, Babagana Modu. Of course, thank you for your time. Now, can you just keep us up to speed with the, bring us up to speed, with the current status quo of the reintegration process, particularly for the de-radicalized Boko Haram insurgents in the state? Babagana Modu, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir, now.
All right, so can you just give us an overview of what the process is like for the de-radicalized Boko Haram insurgents? The reintegration process.
As you said, these are ex-combatants. That means the repentant Boko Harams. As our mentor said, the governor of Borno said they are being kept in the Hajj camp for this reintegration. Yes, all these things has happened, but we have some effect here along the line in Moronti, where just few days happen now. These people, they even jump into a house where they bite somebody's front part while he was naked. So I think they still need some reintegration because they have effect to society, at least more than the before, I think.
Now let's talk about the host community.
Can you hear me?
Okay, now let's talk about the host community, particularly the local community there. How are they responding to the presence of these de-radicalized individuals?
Yeah, you know, when the surrendered came back to the community, we gave them a door to be as a friend and one family. But we tend to find out some of them are not even answering greeting. So the community now start raising voice that why they even put us in trauma, but they can't give us a chance to be a friend like before. Whilst we tend to find out still even the ex-combatants, what I mean, the Boko Harams, we can give salams, they will not respond to us, even if we bind them or even to pray within us. So still people scared of them due to the many things happen along the line.
All right, Babagana Modu, thank you so much for your time. National President, Kanuri Heritage Board. Once again, thank you. And of course, still on the news at this time, the Federal High Court in Lagos, southwest of Nigeria, struck out a 22.8 billion naira fraud charge against the former Chief of Air Staff, retired Air Marshal Adeshola Amosu, and 2 other Air Force chiefs. Now, Justice Chukwueju Aneke set the military officers free while delivering rulings on their separate preliminary objections challenging the court's jurisdiction to try them for the alleged crime. Now, the court held that Amosu and his co-defendants, Air Vice Marshal Jacob Bola Adigun and Air Commodore Gbadebo Owoduni Olugbenga, could not be tried by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission because they were serving military officers at the time and the alleged crime was committed. Amosu was appointed Chief of Air Staff on January 16, 2014, and he was removed from the post on July 13, 2015, 12 months before his arraignment in court. As the world commemorates the International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation, Nigeria must join in the fight to end this nuisance in the country. With the theme, Her Voice, Her Future, the government and non-governmental organizations, faith-based organizations and communities must lend their voice to make sure they protect the sexuality of young girls and women. In 2012, the United Nations General Assembly designated February 6th as the International Day for Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation, aiming to amplify and direct their efforts to eliminate this practice. According to the United Nations, despite this, in 2024, nearly 4.4 million girls, or more than 12,000 each day, at risk of FGM around the world. To discuss this, I am joined on the news at this time by Omodolakbo Jajiola, founder, of course, a Goal Women Africa and Girls Child Education Rights Advocate. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now the United Nations set a target to end FGM practice by 2030. Now, looking at the current flow of actions towards ending this particular act, is this target still attainable?
Yes, I would agree that we are making notable progress in being able to eradicate this in major communities in Africa. And the results are showing for it daily. The areas where this barbaric act is still persistent is gradually reducing. So I believe that through more penetrations into these areas and through the involvement of more NGOs, we should be able to totally eradicate it by the targeted year, 2030.
All right, now, can you take us through some of the survivor-led initiatives designed to end FGM practice in the country?
Well, we have a couple of them, and also my NGO is also actively involved in this, and we lend our voice through sensitization, which we believe that it's the most important tool in this area, because a lot of people who are actually actively involved in the act of female genital mutilation are people who believe, due to cultural and social reasons, that this is right. They don't see any reasons against it, and that's why they're actively involved in it. And so we believe that through sensitization, we should be able to reduce these acts where they are being done, and also through the support of UNICEF and also the UN FPA, we have been able to really gather support to be able to reduce this, especially in the north, and also amongst the Yorubas, where it's mostly being done as of today. And we are actually making progress in this aspect through these international organizations' involvement in it.
Now, aside the cultural, social, and maybe religious, angle to it, most traditionalists have also brought some sort of moral justification for practicing this particular act. Now, can you share with us some of their, reasons and how or what you're doing to sort of enlighten them and bring them out of that mindset?
Well, there is no reason that can justify cutting someone to bleed. There is nothing that can justify putting someone through a traumatic experience of cutting a very vital organ off, because there is no medical claims to back it up. And when there is no medical claims to back it up, there is definitely no reason why it should be done. So if we have traditional reasons why it's being done, I believe that it's only due to their own personal convictions, because we see from the results that we see from the things that actually later on erupt from this act. We see cases of bleeding, severe bleeding, infection. Some of them get cysts, some of them get what's it called? A lot of them get menstrual cramps that are very, very incurable. And then the long-lasting impact of this act is, being unable to actually give birth easily. And some of them even die during childbirth due to what has been done to them because of the covering and the narrowing of the vagina, which had been done earlier on. So what traditional reason could be good enough to justify this act, seeing that a lot of kids eventually die if they don't end up going through a long time trauma from what has been done. So that is also like a long-term penalty for this act. So if anyone is coming on board with traditional reasons why we should still uphold this act, then they should be made to see reasons why this is of no good. This is of no good. If there's no medical claims to back it up, definitely it has nothing good to do, because it's just personal convictions to me, and just wanting to be subdued to actually peer pressure, social thoughts and ideas. But generally and morally, it's not ideal, and it's not going to be accepted going forward. And a lot of them are already coming to this light. A lot of them are already seeing it, and they are taking steps back to correct these acts. Cases where some of these things are being done because of rights. Maybe a king wants to assume a position, and then they say, let us cut off the... we have a case like that in Lagos, a king in Lagos, where when he wanted to assume the position of the king, and they told him that his first daughter had to be cut off, where the clitoral glands had to be cut off. And then eventually they died. So what is going to back this up? I believe it is so barbaric, and it shouldn't stand anymore, and they should see the light now.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution, of course, on the news at this time. But just before I let you go, 30 seconds. How can survivors heal? Many of them have been scarred for life. How can they heal? How can they come out of it? And also, are there policy actions by the government to actually hold people that still do this accountable?
Well, yes, Nigeria already banned this act as of May 2015, which was done by the ex-president Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, where they had already called for the eradication of this act. So in zones and areas where this is still persistent, we hope that this law that already binds the eradication of female genital mutilation should be able to apprehend them and hold them into justice. They should be able to account for going against the law. And as for the survivors, I actually would love to advise that they speak up about it, and because speaking up helps one to heal faster, then you are able to join safe communities that helps you to grow out of that trauma, because you have people to lean on. And also they should also be advised and educated in ways to also, due to their story, be able to like put a stop to it, especially if it's still ongoing in their communities and the government has no idea about it. Being able to be in a position whereby they can lead others to stop is also a place of strength. And I believe that it's going to help us to fully conquer this even before the targeted time, if the survivors are...
All right, Jayola, thank you so much for your contribution on the news. The Nigerian government says there are plans to establish 6 new cancer centers across the country. The Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare made this known in Abuja during a symposium to review the state of cancer care for citizens in the light of the exit of pharmaceutical companies from Nigeria, which has compounded access to affordable drugs for cancer victims. Now, News Central's Idong Joseph tells us more.
In Nigeria, it is estimated that about 78,800 deaths annually are caused by complications from cancer. About 102,000 cases are also diagnosed every year from the nation's 200 million citizens. With the cost of treatment for cancer ranging between 4 million to 40 million naira, the cost of drugs has also skyrocketed, making treatment affordability a challenge to ordinary citizens. Against this backdrop is the concern that many pharmaceutical companies are now exiting the country, which further compounded the challenge associated with affording cancer care.
75% of our drugs in the country are imported. 60% of our market is in West Africa is Nigeria. We have 130 licensed manufacturers and about 5 WHO certified manufacturers, but none of them at the moment are making chemotherapy drugs. The few companies where we buy some of the chemotherapy drugs in recent times have had a divestment and exited Nigeria. All the myriad of challenges.
Multiple taxation, bureaucracy, and maladministration, among others, are some of the factors highlighted that may have forced these companies from leaving the country. However, Nigeria's Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare assured of government's willingness to review policies in place to encourage local production of cancer drugs. He says that there are plans to establish 6 new cancer centers across the country to enhance access to treatment for citizens.
We're also coming up with medium plan and long-term plan to stem the high cost of pharmaceuticals in our country. The government has also concluded plans to build 6 new cancer centers across each of the 6 geopolitical zones in our country.
While Nigeria has recorded success in the fight against diseases like HIV and AIDS, experts here are calling for the same strategy in combating cancer.
HIV has become a very successful movement, even TB and so many other illnesses. Why can't we do the same in cancer? One thing we've not been able to do in cancer is integration.
Nigeria, we have good lessons that we just need to replicate. We don't need to go far to fetch for lessons that has worked in other places, but lessons that has worked in Nigeria, using our local context, using our local human resources and our capacities. And that has worked. So I very much agree we can deploy such lessons to see how can we work for for cancer treatment.
As cancer continues to pose a public health challenge, killing more people than HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria combined, there is a call for stakeholders to join efforts in tackling the ailments. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
The news continues in West Africa, where the opposition in Senegal has denounced a constitutional coup after Parliament voted to delay the presidential polls by 10 months, plunging the West African nation into its worst crisis in decades. Lawmakers backed postponing this month's poll until December 15th during a heated debate, which at times descended into shoving and pushing. The proposal eventually passed almost unanimously late on Monday, but only after security forces stormed the chamber and removed some opposition deputies. It paves the way for President Macky Sall, whose second mandate was due to expire in early April, to remain in office until his successor is installed, probably in 2025. Opposition members on Tuesday claimed the country has been taken hostage and also decried the erosion of Senegal's democratic norms. In the meantime, several people at the Senegalese capital of Dakar's Kolobane market have expressed concern after lawmakers voted to delay this month's presidential poll until December.
Chaque jour xeex ñoom bu ñu nekkee foofu war a def lu nga xam ne mooy jëri réew mi ñu nekk fa di xeex ñun kañ la ñuy avancé lii métti na ba si kanam yàlla métti na.
Bien sûr, parce que parmi eux, c'est pas tous qui sont mauvais, c'est pas tous qui sont corrompus ou bien des trucs comme ça. Et il y en a toujours des gens à qui on peut faire confiance, mais c'est juste que le niveau de corruption est un peu élevé par rapport à ce qu'on a vu hier à l'Assemblée nationale.
Non, wóolu ma leen de woon 100% wax dëgg yàlla élection yi boo xoolee moom yi nga xam moo jiite réew mi bokk ci élection yi waru ko mën a toxal waroon na ko mën a bàyyi élection yi am ci jàmm dëkk bi am jàmm ndax booy ñu ngi yàq bare surtout ñu borom moto yi en général lu ci ëpp rek bu yàqu-yàqu amee rek ñu ne bu leen daw.
Away from Senegal, the families of 40 Tunisian migrants who went missing in the Mediterranean Sea last month protested in the capital Tunis on Tuesday, seeking answers from authorities. The group of mostly teenagers from El Hancha, a small town in central Tunisia, had left from the coastal city of Sfax, hoping to reach the Italian island of Lampedusa, some 150 kilometers away. Sfax is one of the main departure points for irregular migrants, as Tunisia's economy is at a near standstill, with a 1.2% growth rate estimated by the World Bank in 2023, while youth unemployment stands at around 38%. According to the Italian Interior Ministry, Tunisian illegal arrivals in Italy last year formed the second largest contingent, behind Guineans at 17,304. In East Africa, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has denied that people are dying of hunger in the drought-hit East African nation, which is grappling with food crisis, as responding to lawmakers' questions on Tuesday. He said that the lower house of parliament that people are not dying due to hunger in Ethiopia. However, he acknowledged that people may have died due to illnesses associated with malnutrition. Last month, the National Ombudsman said nearly 400 people had died of hunger in the northern regions of Tigray and Amhara. The deaths reported occurred over the last 6 months. But Prime Minister Abiy said the government had released more than $250 million for food aid in the affected regions. The leader of a starvation court, that's Paul Mackenzie, has appeared in a Kenyan court with other defendants in the coastal town of Malindi, charged with 191 counts of murder. Self-proclaimed Pastor Mackenzie, who has already been charged with terrorism, manslaughter, as well as a child torture and cruelty, is alleged to have incited hundreds of his followers to starve to death in order to meet Christ.
Is deferred until after the ruling on the PO, highlighting of submissions on the 7th of March, 2024.
Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba has met with his Portuguese counterpart, João Cravinho, in Kyiv, during Cravinho's two-day visit to Ukraine. The Portuguese delegation arrived in Ukraine on Monday, headed by Cravinho and Education Minister João Costa. He said Portugal has an obligation to support Ukraine. The show of support came at a press conference held with Dmytro Kuleba.
Of Ukraine, according to the Constitution, is the supreme commander of the armed forces. He is also in charge of defense and foreign policy of Ukraine. Therefore, he has full constitutional right to make decisions which he deems necessary to ensure efficiency of governance and achievement of the strategic goal that I described. Again, I would like to emphasize that the President has the right to replace at any time Minister of Defense, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Because, as I said, according to the Constitution, he is the Supreme Commander, and he is the one who nominates two ministers to the government, Minister of Defense and Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Portugal pode dar contributo que não é contributo apenas para a reconstrução de edifícios destruídos pela agressão russa, é mais do que isso, é contributo também para a reconstrução da Ucrânia no sentido de uma nova Ucrânia, uma Ucrânia preparada para a União Europeia. A vitória da Ucrânia é fundamental para a própria Ucrânia e é fundamental para a nossa estabilidade e a paz no continente europeu. E então temos uma obrigação de apoiar a Ucrânia ao limite das nossas.
Following weeks of protest after contested elections, Serbian lawmakers convened an inaugural parliamentary session on Tuesday, where several opposition MPs held placards calling for the results to be annulled. President Aleksandar Vucic's ruling Serbian Progressive Party and coalition partners secured 129 of the 220 parliament seats in the December 17th election. The main opposition, Serbian Against Violence, a coalition, won just 65 seats, but said the vote was marred by widespread fraud. International observers also reported irregularities, including instances of vote buying and ballot box stuffing. Some Western nations voiced concerns over the electoral process, as Serbia's top court has rejected an opposition action to have the votes annulled. Opposition MPs took their oath of office in the Parliament Hall in protest to protest the proceedings.
Spremni smo, učinit ćemo sve što je do nas, da zajedno sa građanima Srbije dođemo do pravde, da učinimo sve da se ponište ovi izbori, da učinimo sve da se stanje u Srbiji normalizuje, da lopovi budu u zatvoru.
Na stanici kada otpravnik ispraćava vozove, tako oni ispraćaju svoju bezidejnost i pokazuju svoje pravo lice. Tako da im želimo srećan put u tom vozu za nigde, a mi ćemo da radimo svoj posao za koji smo.
France will provide an opportunity to remember French citizens killed in the Israeli bombardment of Gaza, as the country prepares to pay tribute to citizens killed in the attack on Israel by Hamas on October 7th. A presidential official said this on Monday. Now, President Emmanuel Macron will on Wednesday host a major ceremony at the Invalids Memorial Complex in Paris in memory of the 42 French citizens killed in the attack on Israel by the Palestinian militant group and 3 others still missing, believed to be held hostage. Hamas' unprecedented October 7th attack on Israel resulted in the deaths of about 1,160 people, mostly civilians. Militants also seized around 250 hostages, and Israel says 132 remain in Gaza, including at least 28 believed to have been killed.
Le début, donc l'hommage du 7 octobre midi qui sera rendu aux victimes des crimes de guerre du Hamas. Nous y serons présents donc avec une délégation selon les agendas des uns et des autres, donc comptant Caroline Fiat qui est vice-présidente de l'Assemblée nationale, Éric Coquerel, président de la Commission des finances, Manuel Bompard comme coordinateur du mouvement Insoumis et moi-même comme présidente du groupe parlementaire. Nous avons été invités à cet hommage national par le président de la République. Et je veux dire ici solennellement que les polémiques doivent s'arrêter quand la nation tout entière rend hommage aux morts. Je le dis aussi pour l'initiative qui aurait été annoncée par l'Élysée, c'est à confirmer, qui était une demande que j'avais notamment faite au nom de mon groupe, auquel donc, nous saluons cette décision, nous nous y rendrons. Et je crois que là aussi, oui, la nation tout entière doit pouvoir se réunir pour rendre hommage.
The Nigerian Naira's future is uncertain as analysts predict further depreciation due to limited reserves, high demand for dollars, and weak investor confidence. Even though the external reserves went up, the Naira fell to its lowest level ever last week. it lost 61% of its value in 1 week, falling to about 1,435.53 naira per dollar due to CBN's actions aimed at transparency. The impact of this were rising inflation, reduced purchasing power, and potential foreign investment decline. Analysts urge CBN to control money supply, punish currency manipulation, and also clear debt backlog to stabilize the naira. The naira's future outlook hinges on CBN's action and market forces. Data from the CBN showed that the external reserves rose to $33.35 billion on January 30th, from $32.192 billion in December last year. According to a report by Morocco Statistics Agency, unemployment rate has increased to 13% in 2023, up from about 11.8% the previous year. The rise in unemployment has been primarily driven by job losses in the farming sector due to a prolonged drought. By the end of 2023, the total number of unemployed individuals in Morocco reached about 1.58 million, with the agricultural sector alone witnessing a loss of over 202,000 jobs after experiencing 6 consecutive years of drought. The report also highlighted high unemployment rates amongst young people, that's about 35.8%, graduates at the rate of 19.7%, and women at 18.3%. Let's wrap up the news with some sporting details, where the highly anticipated 2023 Africa Cup of Nations semi-final encounter between Nigeria and South Africa continues to generate debate between rival fans online and offline. The match is a repeat of the 2000 edition semi-final, which Nigeria won 2-0 in Lagos, thanks to a brace by Tijani Babangida. And the most recent competitive fixture between both nations was in the quarter-final of the 2019 edition, which Nigeria also won 2-1 in Cairo. The recent Grammy Awards win by South African newcomer Tyler ahead of Nigeria trio David, Burna Boy and Aya Star in the newly introduced Best African Music Performance has raised the stakes even higher. Our South African correspondent Bongani Siziba took to the streets of Johannesburg to speak to Nigerians and South Africans alike about their expectations for the match.
South Africa, they are trying. I know they are trying. Their goalkeeper is, I like the way the guy keep the penalty, 4 penalty. He's #1 in the world, and he keep 4 penalty. The previous people is 3 and 2, but him keep 4 penalty. When you search it, you will see.
I gotta say it's gonna be a tough one.
All the best to both teams, especially Nigeria. Well, that wraps up the news at this time. But before we go, another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Ministers of Finance, Budget and Planning and also the CBN Governor appear before Senate over Nigeria's economic hardship. We also told you that Senegal's opposition tags lawmakers' decision to delay election a constitutional coup. And finally, we also told you that families of 14 missing Tunisian migrants take protests to Tunis. Don't forget to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Apple TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Dakpo at Digboyi.